Imagine a world where you had your own AI agent that understood you, understood your business, understand your thought process, understands your business processes, and you have it all in the palm of your hands and you can interact with it at any time. Well, ClawdBot has really helped make this possible, and it almost sounds too good to be true. So I'm going to start this video by giving you a quick rundown of a use case that we built out here where my AI agent has his own email inbox. I could email them at any time. I could message them on Slack and we could interact, and he can perform any tasks that I need. I know this almost sounds too good to be true, so I'm going to show that in the first part here. Then after that, in the second part, I'm going to show you how we built this out with a step-by-step walkthrough so you can build this out on your end. All right, without further ado, let's dive into it. So on the left side here, you'll see there's an inbox that is specifically created for my ClawdBot, and they are in full control of it. They're able to send, receive, read emails from here, etc. So I'm going to go ahead here and just email ClawdBot and send them a list of some event attendees. All right. From 2026 event, attached a list. All right. We're just going to go ahead here. We're going to send ClawdBot that email. Then we're going to pull up Slack so we can start communicating with ClawdBot. Let's just make sure that they got that email, refresh my inbox, and just like that, it's received my email. So let's dive back into Slack. Hey, I just sent you a quick email that has a list of conference attendees that I met. Analyze each one, find me the top 3 prospects from the list that would be the best fit for my ICP, and send me an email back with a unique email for each to thank them for their time during the conference. I'm just going to go ahead and hit enter here. So what ClawdBot is doing right now is it is logging into its inbox. It's finding the latest email that has the conference attendees. It's pulling up that file and it is reading through it now, trying to find out the top prospects for me here. And as this begins to run, I'm going to show you quickly what I provided it just so you have the full context. So I put here some synthetic data together. I throw in here some company names, some websites, and then some details on conference notes. And this is the complete CSV file that I've sent to ClawdBot. So let's go back into Slack here and we'll see that it's already begun to analyze the output against my ICP. It's disqualified some of them, and it's already sent me an email with the top 3 analysis, and it's drafted a thank you email for each of these. And in real time, I'm just going to pull up my phone here, and I'm going to pull up my last email from ClawdBot, and you'll see here it wrote for me 3 different emails, with the highest priority one being first, giving a reasoning and writing out an in-depth email for each of these leads, and it's giving me a complete breakdown on why it's done it essentially. And all of this happened within a matter of minutes. I literally did this whole thing through my phone essentially. I could have even messaged it on Slack. I could have emailed it and told it to perform this. The possibilities and the use cases are endless. So without further ado, let's dive into the step-by-step process of how we set this all up so you can do this for your own business. All right, so let's dive into a step-by-step instruction guide here on how to build this Claude setup. So first thing we're going to need is a server. I opted in for AWS because we can use one of their free tiers to get this set up. And the way we do that is go into AWS and just going into EC2. You can do this through any cloud service provider, really, any Ubuntu server, etc. But for this guide, we're going to go through EC2 and AWS. So once we get into EC2, which is essentially the virtual servers that AWS provides, we're going to go in here and hit Launch Instance. And from within here, we're just going to give our server a name, and we're going to go ahead and pick Ubuntu here as our Amazon machine image. We're going to keep that at 24.04. Then we're going to scroll down to the types here. So after you pick the image, we're going to go down here to the instance type, and this is where you find the different server configurations. And you could just type into this field free, and you could pick any one of these free tier ones, and it should be eligible to be free to use as long as you're within the AWS limits. For this setup here, I'm just going to do a quick T3 medium setup here. So this instance type really just dictates the size of the server's capabilities by the number of CPU cores and the RAM. Then we're going to dive into the key pair. This is where you create a key pair that allows you to securely log into your instance. So you're going to come on the right here and just hit create new, and you could call this ClawdBot, key, or whatever you'd like to call it. This is up to your discretion, and that will download for you a .pem file that you can use to access the instance. And then you're going to come down to the network settings, and you're going to want to allow HTTPS and HTTP traffic from the internet. This is going to allow external sources to connect to your server. And then for the SSH access here, this is how you actually access the server. You should come in here and choose My IP or pick a custom IP, which would limit the access to the server to only be for the IPs that you've whitelisted. You can keep it for anywhere, which would allow you to log in from anywhere in the world. However, this is a security risk, so proceed with caution. All right, then we're going to come down here into our configuration for the storage, and here we're just going to put 100 gigabytes. This essentially allows us to create more storage space for ClawdBot to work. This is like the hard drive space. So it's up to your discretion on the value you want to put there, as much or as little as you feel like you need. You can also always upgrade this to a different size if need be. Then we're going to come down here. We're just going to hit launch instance. That should take us a second here, and that should give us an instance. So top here, you'll have a link. You'll just click that. And then what you'll have to do is come back into security here and then look at your security group and just go ahead and edit inbound rules. We're going to hit add new rule. And in here, we need to add a rule for the ClawdBot port. And that port is 18789. Then once again, we're going to allow it to only connect from our IP address. So I'm just putting in my IP address here. And then we're going to hit save rules. And now we're able to access the port for ClawdBot. All right, we're gonna go back to our instance. So here you'll find your IP address that you can use to connect to the server. Keep in mind, if you do not assign an elastic IP address to this instance, when you go to reboot or restart your server, the IP is going to change. So keep that in mind when you are working on this. All right, so now that we got this all set up, we're going to hop into terminal to start setting up and configuring the server. We're going to go ahead here and just copy our IP address because we're going to need that in a moment. All right, so what we're going to do is dive into the terminal here. If you're on Mac, you could use the default terminal application, or if you're on Windows, you can use PowerShell to do this, I believe. And all we're going to do first is get that file, that PEM file that we downloaded. We're going to update the permissions to be cmod 400 ClawdBot key .pem. So that key file name, that's unique to me. Yours might be different. Totally fine. Then what we're going to do is ssh-i ClawdBot-key.pem Ubuntu at. We're going to make sure we grabbed our IP address, and we're going to put that in here. And what that's going to do is going to log us into the server.
Hey, real quick, sorry to take you away from the video, but if any of the tech or anything that I've described in this video sounds super cool to you and interesting, and you're looking for some help implementing this for your team, click the link in the description to get a free 30-minute consultation to figure out how we can implement this and other great ideas to your go-to-market strategy and help your RevOps team 10x their output. Now, back to the video.
So ClawdBot gives you very simple instructions for you to set this up on your machine real quickly. I think this is great, but I think this is meant for a little bit more advanced users. So I went ahead and created a script that should help streamline the process and make it a whole lot easier to create the setup that we just created. So we're going to go into terminal, and the file that I sent and included in the description in GitHub, you're going to have to download that and upload that to the server. Then all we're going to have to do is update that file to be an executable by doing cmod +x. And I put it in a scripts folder. You could have put this wherever you see fit. And then I'm just going to run that script again. And as you see here, it is essentially going to do the same steps as ClawdBot recommends. However, it's added in a couple more features, like I've added in Playwright to try to get some browser functionality. It's going to prompt you to provide your Slack details and your Google details, and you'll see that here in a second. We'll just leave it to run here. Okay, so the first thing is it's going to prompt you for the Google Cloud OAuth credentials. And I'm going to show you how to grab those real quick. The first thing you're going to do is go to console.cloud.google.com. And then you're going to create a new project if you don't already have one. And then what you're going to do is search in the top bar here for Gmail API. It should say enable here. But for me, because I've already enabled it, it says manage. Once you've done that, you're going to go ahead and type in credentials, which I misspelled. And on credentials here, you should be able to create a new credential for an OAuth client ID. However, if this is your first time setting this up, it will require you to set up an OAuth consent screen. You're just going to have to go through that process. It takes 2 or 3 steps, and you'll be all set. So once you've completed that, you're going to go ahead into the OAuth client ID here. You're going to select the type of desktop app. You can call it whatever you'd like. Just for demo purposes, I've already done that. And you're going to download this JSON file. And then you're going to have to upload that to your server. All right, so I've already done that, and I'm going to go ahead and place in my JSON URL. Then we're just going to go ahead and enter, and then it's going to ask us for our email account that we've set up. Then we're going to hit enter. So we're running this what we call a headless authentication because we don't have the full redirect set up for post OAuth authentication. We are able to do a headless authentication by copying the URL that gets generated here, just dropping that into your browser, selecting the account and logging in. Then you're going to hit allow. And essentially, you'll get back a URL that on an error screen. Don't worry about that. You grab the URL from the top or grab it from the error. And you're going to come back into your terminal. And you're just going to drop that URL back in here. And that essentially allows you to perform Google authentication without having to set up the entire redirect. Next up here, we want to give ClawdBot the capability to do a web search. We're able to utilize the Brave free tier to set this up. So I'm going to show you how to grab your Brave API key right now. So you're going to go to the Brave site and you're going to go to their search API dashboard. On the left here, you'll see they have available plans. They'll have a free plan that's 1 request per second, 2,000 requests per month that allows you to perform web searches via the API. We've subscribed to this free tier here already. Then we're going to go ahead here to API keys. We're going to copy the API key and just drop that back in. Hit enter. Now that we've done that, we need to just complete the final pieces of the setup process, which is reloading our shell and then beginning the ClawdBot onboarding. You're going to go ahead here and just hit yes. You can do quick start, and you're going to pick whichever model and provider you see fit. I'm going to use Anthropic in this case, and I'm just going to grab my Anthropic API key. And you can select whatever model you see fit. I'm just going to stick with the default, which is Opus 4.5. Then here you can select the channel, and we're going to select Slack for this example, but there's many other options here. But for the sake of the video, we're going to just stick with Slack for this time. Now it's going to ask us for some Slack bot details. And I'm just going to call my Slack bot 6610 ClawdBot. And then what this is going to do is create a manifest JSON at the top here that you'll just need to copy and paste real easily. And essentially what you're going to do is go into api.slack.com and you're going to hit create new app. And then you're going to click from a manifest. And in here, select your workspace, hit next. And then you can paste in that JSON object that you got from terminal. And this will allow you to automatically set up all the permissions and all the heavy lifting is done for you. I've already done this, so I'm just going to log into my existing ClawdBot to show you the next steps. So on the left side here, you're going to hit OAuth and permissions, and you're not going to have this by default. It's going to say install. You're going to hit install into your workspace, and then it's going to give you your bot user OAuth token. So we're going to grab that. We're just going to drop that in here, hit enter. Then it requests the Slack app token, which you can find from the basic informations tab. Then if you hit generate token scopes, it will ask you for a name. And then you're going to select the scope of connections right. And essentially you're going to get a token and a screen that looks like this. We're just going to hit copy. We're going to drop that in here. And then we're going to say, let's limit this to specific Slack channels. So we're going to go ahead and hit yes. And then we're going to do allow list. And we're going to say showcase test. And this is the name of my channel. You could do whatever you feel like is right, but for me, I'm going to limit it to this channel. Hit enter. And we can configure the skills as well. I'm just going to show you what that looks like real quick. So when you hit yes here, it's going to request what kind of node manager you want to use. Let's stick with NPM. I think that's one of the most common ones. And then here you'll see all of the different pre-built skills that you can use right out of the box real easily, such as the iMessage or the model usage or Gemini or Twitter or /Bird, etc. For now, I'm going to skip this and I'm going to go right into here. So it's going to ask you if you want to include some Google Places API keys. You can say no to this, asking you for some 11 Labs, some OpenAI API keys. You can skip this. Here we are able to use hooks. They have 4 main built-in hooks that you can be using here, which is the boot one, the command logger, the session memory, and the inject agents context. So what this does is for the boot, on the initial setup or in the initial startup, it will feed in and inject some of that startup data that you request. Command logger is going to log all those commands that are running. It's kind of going to be like an audit feature for you. Session memory is going to store your sessions in memory. And then the inject agents context is going to auto inject that agents.md file into your business context at the start of a session. So we're going to go ahead here and just hit enter. Then we're going to restart our gateway. And then we could go into the hatch in TUI. This will open up the built-in chat window essentially, which we can test really quick. And it responds. So as you can see here, I'm on a white background, so the text is a little bit messed up, but you get the point. We're going to hit Control-C to exit out of this. Then I have 2 commands that we need to run to set up our skills. And I'm going to include all of these within the README file of the GitHub repo. So the next thing you're going to do is run the commands that I've set up here to set up your skills for you. And this is just a simple command that's going to clean up some of the files and put them in the right spot. Once again, just trying to help you with speed to set up. You'll find these commands in the README file in GitHub. So just going to copy and paste that in here, hit enter. That just takes a second. And then we're just going to make sure that ClawdBot has the skills that we want activated. And we should see in here that we have our skill for GOG ready, which is the workspace CLI tool. All right, so now that we got that set up, I just want to give you a quick rundown on how to build more context into ClawdBot, because I think this is very important to make this work effectively. So I've put together here a little write-up that explains each of the different main files. So the first file here is the agents file. This is sort of like the operating instructions on how the agent should behave, the rules, and its priorities. Your ICP and business context should live within here. Bootstrap is a one-time setup ritual for workspaces. Don't worry about that one. Heartbeat. This is sort of like a cron job or a scheduled automated run that would occur periodically. And you set that up within the Heartbeat file. Within the identity file, this is where you can call your agent a specific name. You could talk about its vibe. You could really give it an identity. Soul. This is the persona, the tone, the boundaries, and it really shapes how your agent communicates with you. Tools are just notes about the available tools and the conventions. It just provides guidance. It doesn't actually set up the control for the tool. User is kind of like your profile, the way you prefer to communicate, etc. Here we have a couple of directories, such as memory. This is going to be a daily conversation log for you. Then we have the skills directory, which is where you would place custom skills that override bundled ones. Directory for hooks is where you can set up different custom hook automations. Downloads is where you would see all of those files downloaded. And then lastly, there's Canvas, which is the UI elements for the information that displays on the front end. But really in our world, the key files that we care about are the agents file, the skills/Gmail one, and the hooks directory, which auto loads the agent with all of our business content. So with that said, guys, I know this was a long video. If you stuck around till the end, I appreciate you. You're going to find a link down in the description down below to grab the full GitHub repo that contains the startup script, as well as all of the steps that I took to set this up. If you have any questions, if you run into any issues or have any questions, drop a comment down below and I'll answer, and I'll try to help you as quickly as possible. Either way, thanks so much for watching, guys, and good luck out there. All right, and before we close out, let's just see this in action working here. So I'm going to go into Slack and I'm going to say at 6610 ClawdBot, send me the last file I emailed you here in Slack. And just like that, it was able to grab the event attendees list from the email and send it to me over Slack. Let's do a little bit of a deeper dive into the file setup that is important to help power this as well. So with that said, guys, I know this was a long video. If you stuck around till the end, I appreciate you. You're going to find a link down in the description down below to grab the full GitHub repo that contains the startup script, as well as all of the steps that I took to set this up. If you run into any issues or have any questions, drop a comment down below and I'll answer, and I'll try to help you as quickly as possible. Either way, thanks so much for watching, guys, and good luck out there.